Welcome to the Female Finance Collective podcast, where we encourage women to have open and honest conversations about all things money.
I'm Jen, and I struggled for many years with debt and feeling financially overwhelmed, so I know how frustrating it can be. Now I'm passionate about helping women confidently take control of their personal finances.
And I'm Mary Lee. As a financial planner, I've had the privilege of working with hundreds of women who've transformed their financial lives. I'm excited to share my insights to help you on your financial journey.
Hey, I'm Sybil. I built my dream life traveling the world and creating financial freedom on a teacher's salary. Now I help women take charge of their money and burn brighter in life.
Let's start the money conversation. So, today we're in a conversation about feeling overwhelmed by the political environment. And when things like this are happening and there's all this unrest and insecurity and people are unsure of what's going on, and it's kind of a wild time right now, it can really be tempting to kind of change course and do things, make decisions that are kind of like panic based, right? Or fear based changes to how we're managing our money, things that we're doing like with our jobs and all of that kind of stuff. Anything that relates to like our security and our stability and our future, we can sometimes make these like panicked decisions or changes. And so we just want to talk a little bit today about what we would do. Again, this is just our advice, our opinion, disclaimer and all of that good stuff. Like we're not telling you exactly what to do. We're just going to share kind of what we've been talking about, we think are good strategies when times are feeling a little bit uncertain. So what do you guys think is like your number one, like what's the first thing that comes to mind when we start talking about this?
I'd say for me, the first thing that comes to mind is I would beef up my cash reserve. So, set aside some additional funds in case there was an emergency or in case there was any worry about job security or income security going forward. So stashing away some extra savings is definitely helpful because it makes you feel like you're a little more in control of your finances and your money. So I'd suggest that. And the second thing is I would hold off on big purchases. So, if possible, this may not be the time to buy the next car. If you have concerns about your income, about your finances in general, just holding off for a little bit longer, just until you have more clarity about your life and financial situation. What about you, Sybil?
I agree, Marilee, like with the gathering your cash, kind of, making sure you have security and safety. That is a lot of feeling comfortable in life, and reducing your stress is feeling like if something happens, if you do lose your job, it's going to be okay. You have a little bit of cash to rely on. You can start looking for another job and just really actually, if you are able, beefing that up maybe a little bit, like as cash instead of maybe an investment or other things that you might be. So kind of thinking about like the situation at hand and making sure that you're going to feel comfortable, more comfortable. You're not necessarily going to feel comfortable no matter what happens, but maybe more comfortable with whatever happens, and thinking about your values. So what do you value when it comes to spending or saving or investing your money, and making sure that things are in alignment with your values, and knowing that we need to manage our money, like all the time. It never stops, right? So political climates are going to change, your life's going to change, all these things are going to change. And so always kind of going back to your values is really important at times like these, and thinking about what matters to you. Are you investing in things that you feel comfortable investing in, that you believe in, and maybe you did when you bought it and now you don't. That's kind of my example. We just sold a lot of Tesla stock last week because it just doesn't match our values anymore. When we bought it, it was actually Solar City and then turned into Tesla, and it's done really well for us. And we need some money right now because I've been talking on this podcast about, making that vacation happen. And so we were like, this is an alignment for us to do right now. Our values are telling us this is the stock we want to sell at this point. Take our wins and then invest it in a vacation that we need, invested in my daughter's, college expenses. So just reevaluating that. And that decision wasn't taken lightly. Did a lot of journaling. I did a lot of talking with you ladies about it, right? So we talk about that a lot too, is like having your people to talk about with money, especially when you start feeling uncertain about something, some alignment is off. It's like, talk about it with your friends, talk about it with us and our community. Because it's not easy to make that decision. But once we were like, okay, this is the right decision for us for right now, we did it and I feel good about it, right? And it's helping me meet my future goals, which we can talk about that too, you guys, is like changing your goals, whether short term or long term, is a part of like managing your money across your life as well, right? Your goals don't always stay the same. And so that's kind of what comes to mind for me, is that value-based, how important that is at times like this, especially.
Yeah, I agree. So I really like what you both have said about like thinking about cash, like having money saved up. So if something does happen, and also we're not talking about like shoving cash under your mattress. Like we're just, right? Because it kind of sounds like that when you start talking about like, build up your cash reserves. We don't mean like in your mattress. We mean like, add money to your high yield savings account, add it to those things that are easy for you to access, like Sybil was saying, not something you have to sell off if you really need the money, but something that's easy for you to get. So you're still putting money away, you're still investing, you're still earning some interest. We're not like panic, sound the alarms, get all your money out of the bank. Like that's not what we're saying at all. We're just saying like be thoughtful about where you're directing your money, thinking about how you might be impacted in terms of, like Mary Lee said, your jobs and all, all of those things that kind of come up. And then I like what you said, Sybil, about, just focusing on the things that you can control, like aligning your investing with your values, aligning your spending with your values. There are certain stores that I've now chosen not to shop at anymore or to limit my shopping because my values aren't lining up with theirs. That's something I can control. I also can give money to organizations that I value. That's something I can control if they're doing work that I think is important, work that supports the things that my husband and I really think is important, then that's another thing that we can control. I think sometimes in times like this, regardless of how you're feeling, it does feel a little bit like you don't have any control over what's happening and you're just kind of watching and waiting to see. And so it's really powerful to take some sort of action. So to volunteer, or if you can't give money to an organization, you can volunteer your time. Like that's an action you can take. That's something you can control. You can feel good about where that money's going because you're being really thoughtful about how you're spending it or how you're giving it. I think that's really important. I also think like we have to protect our peace. I think that that's a really important, and it's very powerful to be informed and knowledgeable and be thoughtful about where you're getting your knowledge and how you're being informed. But it's also okay to tell yourself, you know what, this is too much. I need to not watch news today, or I need to not scroll social media today because I can't consume any more of this content. It's too much for me. And so we're not just talking about like how you're spending your dollars or how you're planning for the future financially, but also like with your mental health, right? And just like, it's okay to dedicate your time and your energy to something else that makes you feel um, I don't know, something that makes you feel good, something that you enjoy, right? Like a hobby or getting outside and going for a walk, reading a book that you love, crocheting, whatever, something that you like to do. I think this is a really good time to like hone your time, spend your time doing those things that really bring you joy.
Because those things impact your money decisions.
Right.
And
They do.
we have make money decisions every single day, spending or, saving. So yeah, I love that.
And I also wanted to talk about one thing I'm not doing, and that's veering off course with the longer term investing, things like retirement contributions. Sometimes when we feel overwhelmed and the economic or political climate is really, really stressful, we tend to shut down and not want to think about the longer term decisions or the longer term actions. And it's important to keep doing that stuff. So if you have the financial ability, you're still going to retire at some point. So you've still got to fund those retirement contributions and take care of your future. So that's definitely one of the things that I'm not steering away from. It's still really important to be future oriented because it's just easier to plan retirement when you've got time and when you're doing that on an annual basis.
Yes, stay
That
the
is
course.
such a good reminder because no matter how we're feeling right now, no matter how you're feeling, right? Whether you're in love with everything that's happening right now, or whether you're stressed and panicked, or whether, all at where, or you don't know how to feel, right? I think that's true for a lot of us. We don't know how to feel. That history shows us that this kind of thing goes up and down and up
Oh
and
yeah.
down, right? And the pendulum swings and all the like metaphors and whatever that we can use. And so, Mary Lee, there is so much power in reminding people to focus on your future, right? This is a plan you have. You are staying the course. Your plan is not to work until forever. Your plan is to retire. You are investing in the future. You are thinking long term. You are thinking forward. We can't think backward. And that's true with our money too, right? We can't play the what if game or I woulda, coulda, shoulda, all that stuff, right? We just have to think forward and focus on what is important to us. And I love that you are reinforcing the importance of like that long-term planning. We don't, if there's a stock market crash at some point, that we leave our money where it is and we ride that out, right? History shows us that that pays off in the end. And so there's lots of learning we can do from history, whether it's the history of the financial market or whatever it is. And that history tells us like you just stay the course and you focus on the future.
Absolutely. And you keep learning. And as you get closer to that retirement age, because it will come for all of us, as you said, Marilee, um,
Fingers crossed.
you can make other decisions. So if the market is down when start withdrawing, you can start stashing more cash. You can change your allocations to more safe money, bonds or different things like that, where there's not as much risk involved, right? And that's what we should all be doing, no matter what's happening in the world, is we should be staying on top of at least, or hiring someone to help us stay on top of, right? Which is a totally viable option too for many people. But staying on top of where we are and where we're going. But like you said, Marilee, like it's time in the market that you need. So if you stop investing, if you have to stop investing, fine, if you're pausing, but if you stop investing because you're worried about the stock market, you're losing out on a lot of time in the market where the compound interest happens, right? That's the magic of being in the market for your retirement, is the length of time that your money has to grow and make money on itself. So it's not just the money you're putting in, but the money that you are putting in grows too, because that interest multiplies every month or however often the dividends and the capital gains happen in that type of account. So I'm so glad we were talking about that point of, like, I think that's a big thing that happens when there's uncertainty, is people change their course, change their plans. So keeping that course based on your values and your goals and your next steps is absolutely crucial. And then thinking about, okay, this is really bothering me or not. And if it is really bothering you, stay away from it. Who are those friends that you can go to that won't talk politics, not because they have a different opinion than you, but because that's just not what you do with those people. Or maybe you agree with a certain group of people. Let's like not worry about what's happening in the world right now. Let's kind of live in this strand together so we can make sure we have that psychological safety and mental health to get us through.
I have a call to action. Okay, so I know we've been trying really hard to like add a call to action. So I just want to, this is my like my call to action. Maybe Sybil and Mary Lee will agree, but here's mine. Mine is to choose one thing that you can focus on, that you can control, and work on that. So whether that's limiting your time, whether that's putting a little bit more money in savings, whether that's like limiting your time on news or social media, is what I meant. I didn't finish my thought there. But just choose one thing that you can do that you feel really good about. And then also, I would just really encourage people to focus on facts and information, right? Because it's really easy to get caught up in the like, no matter who you are, what political like side you fall on, or whether you're right in the middle, it's really easy to get caught up in the like whirlwind of stuff. And there's so much misinformation out there right now, to just really make sure that you're focusing on that, because that's where your power lies, right? In the knowledge, and then also just controlling one thing, choosing one thing that you can control, I think will make that always makes me feel a little bit better.
So thank you so much for listening today. Be sure to like and subscribe to our podcast, download episodes. We really appreciate your support of our growing podcast. Share it with your friends, and we'll see you next week.